Hi Bill, this is Jim Cumming, and I got your spreadsheet, which looks something like this. Went through it, saw that you had in the cat tabs the material that you need, and looks like there's the labor over here. So without going into a whole lot of detail, I tried to fashion this in the Sage 100 estimating program, and I'll kind of show you how I did it. So the first thing that I did, I'll take this guy and push him off to the left here a little bit. I took all of that data and just copied a bunch of it over into an Excel file. Kind of like so. And then before I did that, I decided I needed to classify these parts. So I went into the program, I went into estimating, and we have a parts classification which popped up here. And I decided, for lack of a better thing, something better to do, to just classify it by manufacturer. So there were some without manufacturers. You can see those there. Then what I did is I took this guy and I assigned them the part number class, as you can see right here. Part number, manufacturer, etc., etc. And then I also went through and I invented some cost codes for you folks. This may or may not work, but it'll kind of give you an idea of what's going on. So on our cost codes, what I came up with were some general requirements. And again, I just invented these. It took me about 5 minutes to do it. And then I had something set up for the work, the underground, the trim out, etc. I call it different things differently than you. I put each of these into a division, and I created some divisions out here, which is pretty simple. So the cost codes fall within divisions. So then what I did is I said, okay, let's take this, and we use, and I'm not going to get into exactly how that was done because that would be just too much information. I have the ability to add and update parts, so I think I saved this. It was something like this. Basically what I took was the field names that were in the first row of that spreadsheet and then mapped them to what I wanted to pull out of that and into our database. And I said do that and use 100 as our starting internal item number. So after all that happened, then I had a parts database. And in the parts database, you'll see over here, keep dragging this, I have a two-screen setup. I invented some labor parts, and then past that, I also had some parts out here starting at number 100 for the stuff that you had on your spreadsheet. And we can look at these kind of like so. Then what I did is I created a takeoff for the estimate that you guys were working on. And again, this is kind of rudimentary here, and I kind of understand what you do, but not really. So I said, okay, we got a Tracy High School over here. And first thing I did was I segmented this into what are known as bid items. So I saw that you were bidding on 3 different things out here. And I just did one of these in detail, kind of like this. So I actually inserted this stuff later on here, but down at the bottom, basically said this is the rough end stuff, the materials, and the head end stuff, just like you had done it. I copied and pasted your quantities in here. The prices were actually in the database when I pulled them in, and I used those. And I basically came up with some costs. I also, as a result of putting all the rest of that stuff in, had them assigned to cost codes. And I also mark them up the way that you wanted to mark them up using sales taxes by item, by the way. Let me move down here a little bit. So sales taxes, and then I put a profit of 10% on it. And when I got done with all this, my cost was going to be about 33, and when I added my profit on there, it was going to be about my extended price is going to be about 33, and that's just on the materials. Then what I did is I went over up at the top, and I just basically copied and pasted that tab that had the hours that you were going to use. And I'm going to squeeze this down a little bit. The hours that you were going to use for each of these at a rate of 65 an hour. And then I had, because I copied and pasted it, I had to go in and assume cost codes and cost types in here. You're going to see why that happened in just a second. So anyway, I put all that in, and that added obviously a lot more to this, so that actually when I got done with this, when I broke it down by cost types for this one guy here, I got material of 10 and some change, labor of 22 and some change, and that's how I came up with a total of 33. And obviously we haven't assigned any profit to the labor yet. Let me do that real quick. I've got, ooh, I closed that up by accident. Let's get back in here real quick. And we're going to go back over here to our data communication system. And I'm going to say, I'm just going to go through and update this grid. And I get this little question guy out here, and I said, I want to take any cost type that is equal to 2, which is labor in our system. And what I want to do is I want to assign a profit to that of, let's say, 15%. So then what it did on my markups, as you will see over here, is it added 15% to all this stuff. So now when I recalculate that, my bid goes up to 37 and some change. So when what I would do in order to complete this was I would go to each of these bid items and do the same thing that you did on your spreadsheet and come up with a number, and if I needed to, then I could go back and massage it a little bit. But the cool thing is I'm now able to analyze this because of those the coding and whatnot that I use. I can see by bid item. I got 343 hours with a cost and a price and an overhead and a margin of. Then I can go through and I can say I want to see that by cost code. And I want to see it by cost type, which we've already done. I could go through and I could assign vendors to the various parts. Because maybe you're buying this all from one supplier. Maybe you're buying it from more than one. If that's the case, go back over to my takeoff, and I can go over here and start assigning. I'm going to auto fit this again. I could start assigning vendors to some of my materials down here. If I did that, then I would be able to see my breakdown by vendor. Just kind of some cool things. And then if we wanted to, we could go one step further and maybe do some custom reporting for purposes of analysis, or maybe some custom reporting for purposes of putting your bid together. So that's, this took me an hour, hour and a half to go through and do this. We can, explore some more possibilities. Dennis wanted me to kind of put this together for you to give you an idea of what's possible. Go ahead and take a look at that, and then give me a call back, and maybe we can delve into this a little deeper to make sure it's going to fill all your needs. Let me know. 209-482-0439. Thanks, and have a great day.